The world holds its breath, gripped by uncertainty and fear, as headlines flash across every screen and whispers of conflict ripple through every conversation. Eyes everywhere are fixed on the Middle East, a region whose fate could shape the future of millions far beyond its borders. The USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group looms in the Mediterranean, its presence a stark reminder of the military might now within striking distance of Iran. Inside Iran, a nation of over 80 million faces a violent, unprecedented uprising, as citizens pour into the streets demanding change and risking everything for their voices to be heard. The air is thick with the rhetoric of war, echoing through city streets filled with desperate cries for free and the thunder of unrest. A defiant generation rises against a hardline theocracy, their courage met with brutal crackdowns, while global powers maneuver in shadowy conference rooms, each seeking advantage in the chaos. The stakes are immense: regional stability, the flow of global energy, and the looming risk of a humanitarian disaster that could spill across borders and continents. As January 29, 2026 dawns, the world waits in anxious anticipation, wondering if Iran will find a path to peace and transformation, or descend into the darkness of war. Today's crisis is the result of years of mounting unrest, deepening frustration, and a series of strategic missteps by those in power. The seeds of today's turmoil were sown long ago, as the government repeatedly failed to address the demands and grievances of its people. Each ignored plea, each crackdown, and every broken promise has brought the nation closer to this breaking point. From the bloody November protests of 2019, when the streets erupted in anger over fuel price hikes and economic hardship, to the brutal crackdowns that left hundreds dead and thousands wounded, the people's resolve only hardened. The Mahsa Amini uprising in 2022 marked a turning point, as women and youth led a new wave of defiance. Each protest since then has grown bolder, more organized, and more determined, with citizens risking everything for a chance at change. The fall of Assad in Syria sent shockwaves through the region, signaling that even the most entrenched regimes could collapse under pressure. Then, a devastating 2025 Israeli-American strike on Iran's nuclear sites exposed the regime's vulnerabilities to the world, shattering the illusion of security and control that leaders had long projected. As Iran's regional influence crumbled, its diplomatic ties frayed, and its embassies emptied, the nation found itself increasingly isolated, just as internal dissent exploded into open rebellion. The myth of regime invincibility is now shattered. The government faces a two-front crisis: internal rebellion that grows by the day, and external threats that loom ever larger. The protests of 2026 are built on years of sacrifice, loss, and the unwavering courage of ordinary Iranians who refuse to be silenced. Now, emboldened by visible cracks in the regime's armor, the people sense that real change may finally be within reach. Decades of oppression, miscalculation, and broken promises have led Iran to this perfect storm, a moment when the future hangs in the balance and the world watches to see what comes next. Iran is in a state of latent war, where daily life is overshadowed by uncertainty and fear. The tension is palpable in every corner of the country, from bustling cities to remote villages. Protests have become a national uprising, coordinated by Generation Z and resistance units across all provinces. Young people, fueled by hope and frustration, are risking everything to demand change, their voices echoing through the streets and on social media. The regime's response, overwhelming violence, curfews, and armored vehicles in the streets, has only intensified the unrest. Security forces patrol neighborhoods day and night, determined to crush any sign of dissent. Thousands have died. Families pay ransoms to retrieve loved ones' bodies. Grief and loss have become a part of daily existence, as mourning families gather in cemeteries, holding on to memories and demanding justice. Economic collapse fuels the anger. 60% inflation, with prices for basic goods soaring beyond reach for most families. 80% below the poverty line, and millions struggling to afford food, medicine, and shelter. The gap between rich and poor widens every day. The Iranian currency is in free fall, losing value at an alarming rate, eroding savings and hope for the future. Internet blackouts isolate Iranians from the world and hide the crackdown scale. With each blackout, families lose touch with loved ones and the outside world loses sight of the suffering within. The USS Abraham Lincoln's presence is a constant reminder of looming foreign intervention. The threat of conflict hangs over the nation, adding to the anxiety and uncertainty. Iranians are trapped between a brutal regime and the threat of war from abroad. Every day they navigate a landscape shaped by fear, resilience, and the hope that change is still possible. Iran's crisis sends shockwaves worldwide. The US eyes regime change, Europe urges diplomacy, Gulf states fear regional war. The Strait of Hormuz, vital for global oil, is at risk. Any conflict could trigger a worldwide recession. Financial markets tremble. Energy security is threatened from Europe to Asia. Inside Iran, millions face violence and poverty. A humanitarian disaster grows, hidden by media blackouts. A wider war could spark a refugee crisis and embolden autocrats elsewhere. Foreign intervention risks chaos and anti-Western backlash for generations. The fate of Iran's people, regional stability, and the global economy all hang in the balance. Experts agree, the regime is vulnerable but collapse is not certain. The IRGC and Basijeh remain loyal and ruthless, making swift overthrow unlikely. Foreign military intervention risks chaos, civil war, and a rally around the flag effect. Many Iranians oppose outside-imposed regime change, even as they demand freedom. Real change must come from within. The youth are fearless and organized. The world's best role targeted pressure, support for free information, and accountability for abuses. Iran's future will be decided by its people. The world must support their aspirations without igniting a wider war. The story is far from over.